In 1912, the Pennsylvania Railroad was one of the largest companies in the world and was riding high on a series of successes. 2 years prior, the Pennsylvania Railroad had tunneled under the Hudson River to bring passenger service directly into Manhattan by way of the brand new Pennsylvania Station. 3 years before that, the railroad had opened Union Station in Washington, D.C., offering freight and passenger service from New York to Washington, from Philadelphia to Chicago, and many places in between. The Pennsylvania Railroad set the standards for the railroad industry in many ways. The Pennsylvania Railroad had 1 president and 5 ranked vice presidents. In 1912, Mr. John B. Thayer occupied the position of 2nd vice president. Thayer was a Philadelphia native, a graduate of the University of Pennsylvania, and an avid cricket player. He had worked various administration jobs within and outside of the Pennsylvania Railroad, including for several of its subsidiaries, such as the Northern Central Railroad. Mr. Thayer had been elected 5th vice president of the Pennsylvania Railroad in 1903, eventually ascending to the position of 2nd vice president in 1911, making him 3rd in command of one of the largest companies in the world. In 1912, Mr. Thayer was invited to spend some time as the guest of the American Consul General in Berlin, Germany. His wife Marion and one of his sons, Jack, accompanied him on the journey. Their 2-week visit concluded in early April, and the Thayers traveled to Cherbourg, France, where they had booked first-class passage aboard the White Star Line's newest steamer on her maiden voyage. On April 10, 1912, the Thayer family boarded the RMS Titanic. The White Star Line had a reputation for luxury, and Titanic's first-class accommodations did not disappoint. Mr. Thayer was in good company. During the voyage, he attended a dinner party hosted by another prominent Philadelphia family, the Wideners. Among the other distinguished guests were millionaire William Carter and his wife, U.S. presidential aide and Army Colonel Archibald Butt, and Titanic's own Captain Edward Smith. As the Thayers were getting ready to go to bed on their last night aboard Titanic, they felt a shudder in the ship, and the sound of Titanic's engines, which had been constant since they had gone to sea, fell silent. Jack went on deck to investigate. He returned, indicating that there was some sort of trouble, and all 3 went back to the boat deck. Titanic's officers were readying the lifeboats. After saying a few parting words, John sent his wife Marion to board a lifeboat, but a short while later was informed that she was still on board the ship. He and Jack got separated in the crowd, but he found Marion again. He led her to a lifeboat and saw to it that she made it away safely. John Thayer did not attempt to get into a lifeboat. He was last seen standing at a boat deck railing amidships, looking, quote, pale and determined, unquote, as he kept company with his Philadelphian friends George and Harry Widener, a mere few minutes before the flooding below deck became too much, and Titanic took her final plunge. John's son, Jack, leapt from Titanic as she foundered and managed to grab onto a collapsible lifeboat along with several other people, including radio operator Harold Bride and second officer Charles Lightoller. Jack Thayer would survive the night, but his father would not. As Titanic slipped beneath the waves, she left hundreds upon hundreds of people bobbing in the freezing North Atlantic seawater, where the cold sea claimed them, one by one. If John Thayer's body was ever recovered, it was never identified. To remember their departed colleague, the Board of Directors of the Pennsylvania Railroad adopted the following into their minutes. Quote, in recording the terrible fate of a valued officer and beloved and respected associate, we desire to pay fitting tribute to his memory and bear testimony to his great worth to the company, not only as an officer, but in its highest councils. Mr. Thayer was thoroughly equipped for the high office which he held. By his long service in the traffic department of the company, having discharged the duties of various official positions with the same diligence, intelligence, and skill which were manifested and more highly developed in his executive life, until, through the channels of work well done and achievements of lasting importance, his name finds place on the roll of honor of those who have served the company faithfully and well. While to those who labored side by side with him, his memory, though darkened by the tragic ending of his life at the high tide of his usefulness, is made more dear by the characteristic manhood and heroism with which he accepted his fate. His true value to the company did not consist alone in his ability as an executive officer and prominent standing as a traffic authority. His alert mind and power of ready expression made for much in argument, debate, and negotiation, and never were the interests of the company safer than in his hands. A man in all that endears men to men, of genial nature, with an affable manner and a ready appreciation of humor, he was a charming companion and beloved by all who knew him, while the example of his integrity, honorable dealing, and clean life is an inspiration alike to friends, associates, and subordinates." Unquote. John B. Thayer was only one of the 1,496 people who lost their lives on the North Atlantic early that April morning. He is one of many stories of people who likely knew what awaited them, yet faced it with honor. The Titanic disaster touched so many people from so many industries and walks of life that in today's day and age we may find it difficult to comprehend. The story of the Titanic is one of courage, honor, and unmitigated tragedy. While many are fascinated by the technical aspects or history of the ship, the best way we can honor those who lost their lives that night is to never forget the human side of the disaster.